The red sun of Kepler 442b was setting behind the mountains when Commander Vextar received his orders. He stood on the bridge of his warship, looking down at the small human research station through the viewing screen. The building looked tiny, from space like a metal dot on the planet's surface. "Another pest colony," said his second officer, clicking his claws together. "Why do we not just bomb it from orbit?" Vexatar turned his large head to look at the younger soldier. His yellow eyes glowed in the dim light of the bridge. "Because these humans are different. They learn too fast. They adapt to everything we throw at them. This one down there is making something that could help them spread to even more worlds." The Vorthak Empire had been fighting humans for 20 years now. At first, it seemed easy. Humans were small and weak compared to most alien species. They had no natural armor, no claws, no poison. But they kept surviving things that should have killed them. They built homes on planets that were too hot, too cold, or too dangerous for most life forms. "What is she making?" the officer asked. "Something about changing dead planets into living ones, making them like Earth." Vextar pulled up a file on his datapad. A picture appeared showing a young human female with dark hair. Dr. Hana Kim, age 23, works alone at Research Station Alpha 7. If she finishes her work and sends it back to Earth, humans will spread across the galaxy like a disease. The officer nodded. "So we kill her?" "Yes, but not with our weapons. Humans record everything. If we attack with ships or soldiers, other humans will know we were here. They will come looking for revenge. We need something that looks natural. Something that could happen to any human living alone on a dangerous planet." Vextar walked to another part of the bridge. Here, a large metal cage sat in the shadows. Inside the cage, something moved. Something big. The creature was 8 feet tall and covered in black armor-like skin. Its arms were longer than a human's whole body. At the end of each arm were hands, with claws that could cut through steel. Its head was shaped like a wolf's but larger with rows of sharp teeth. Yellow eyes glowed in the darkness of the cage. "A shadow beast," whispered the officer. "I thought they were all dead." "Not dead, sleeping. We keep a few for special jobs like this." Vextar touched a control panel. The creature's eyes opened wider. These were made from the DNA of the Kethmaran people. Before we conquered their planet, they were peaceful. They made art and music. They never hurt anyone. What happened to them? We changed them. We took their DNA and mixed it with DNA from hunting animals. We made them stronger, faster, hungrier. We removed the parts of their minds that felt love or fear. Now they only know how to kill. The creature in the cage stood up and pressed its face against the bars. It could smell them. It wanted to hunt. "This one has killed 47 humans," Vextar said with pride. "Men, women, children. It does not care. It just kills until there are no more humans left to kill." The officer stepped back from the cage. Even he was afraid of the shadow beast. "How do we get it to the planet?" "Drop pod. The beast will land near the research station during the night. By morning, the human will be dead. Then the beast will destroy all her research and die. It will look like she was attacked by a wild animal." Vextar touched more controls. A metal tube rose from the floor next to the cage. "The drop pod will break apart when it hits the ground. No one will know we were here." 2 hours later, the shadow beast was loaded into the drop pod. The creature did not fight or try to escape. It had been trained since birth to follow orders. "Kill the target. Destroy everything. Die when the job is done. The storm will hide our approach," said the ship's pilot. "Weather control says there will be heavy rain and lightning for the next 6 hours." "Perfect," said Vextar. "Launch when ready." The drop pod shot away from the warship like a bullet. It fell through the planet's atmosphere protected by heat shields. Inside, the shadow beast waited. Its genetic programming was already working. Images of the target filled its mind. Dr. Hana Kim, female human. Age 23. Working alone. No weapons. No guards. The pod crashed into the forest near Research Station Alpha 7. The impact was so hard that trees fell down around it. The metal tube cracked open, and the shadow beast climbed out. Rain poured down from the dark sky. Lightning flashed across the mountains. The creature lifted its head and smelled the air. Human scent. Close. Very close. It began walking toward the research station. Its feet made no sound on the wet ground. This is what it was made for. This is what it lived for. Soon another human would be dead, and the galaxy would be a little bit safer for the Vorthak Empire. Research Station Alpha 7 sat in a valley between two hills. It was a simple building made of metal and glass. Solar panels covered the roof. A small dish antenna pointed up at the stars. Lights glowed in the windows, showing that someone was still awake inside. The shadow beast crept closer. Its yellow eyes studied the building. There were cameras watching the area around the station, but the storm made it hard to see anything clearly. There were also motion sensors, but the creature knew how to avoid them. It found the main door first. The metal was thick, but not thick enough. The creature's claws could cut through it in minutes, but that would be noisy. The human might have time to send a message for help. Better to find another way in. The creature walked around the building until it found what it was looking for. An air vent near the ground. The metal grate was held in place by 4 screws. The shadow beast's claws made quick work of them. Inside the vent, the human smell was stronger. The creature smiled, showing all of its sharp teeth. The hunt was almost over. Above in her lab, Dr. Hannah Kim worked late into the night. She had no idea that death was crawling through the walls toward her. She had no idea that her life would change forever in the next few hours. She just kept working, trying to solve the puzzle that might help humanity reach the stars. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky, and the shadow beast began to climb. Dr. Hannah Kim pushed her chair back from the computer and rubbed her tired eyes. She had been working for 14 hours straight, trying to finish her research on soil bacteria that could help plants grow on dead planets. The coffee cup beside her keyboard was empty and cold. Outside the lab windows, rain hammered against the glass. Lightning flashed every few seconds, lighting up the dark forest around Research Station Alpha 7. Hannah liked storms. They reminded her of home on Earth, where she used to sit by her bedroom window and watch the rain fall on her family's garden. But that was before the war, before the Vorthak Empire killed her parents and her little brother during an attack on the Sol colony. Now she was alone on this planet, trying to finish work that might help other human families find safe homes among the stars. A soft sound came from the air vent above her head, like scratching. Probably just a small animal looking for shelter from the storm. This planet had creatures similar to Earth's mice. They were harmless and kind of cute. Hannah turned back to her computer screen. The bacteria samples were growing well in the lab dishes. Tomorrow she would test them on actual soil samples. If everything worked, she could send her results back to Earth within a week. Other scientists would use her work to help terraform dead worlds into places where humans could live. The scratching sound came again, louder this time. Hannah looked up at the ceiling. "Hello there, little friend," she said in Korean, then switched to English. "Sorry, but you cannot come into my lab. Too many dangerous chemicals in here." Something heavy landed on the floor behind her. Hannah spun around in her chair. The air vent grate had fallen off the wall. A large hole gaped open where it used to be. But there was no small animal. There was nothing at all. She got up and walked over to pick up the grate. The screws were scattered on the floor. Strange. The screws looked like they had been cut, not pulled out. A low growling sound came from somewhere in the lab. Hannah froze. That was not a mouse. That was not any small animal. That was something big. Something dangerous. She looked around the lab slowly. Equipment covered most of the room. Computers, microscopes, chemical storage units, sample freezers. Lots of places for something to hide. "Hello?" she called out softly. "Is someone there?" The growling came again. This time she could tell where it came from. Behind the main computer server in the corner of the room, Hannah's heart started beating faster. She moved toward her desk where she kept an emergency button. That would call for help. But the nearest human settlement was 3 days away by transport ship. Even if she called for help right now, no one could reach her in time. A shadow moved behind the server. "I can see you," Hana said, trying to keep her voice calm. "Please come out, I am not going to hurt you." A laugh came from the shadows, not a human laugh, something that sounded like metal scraping against stone. "You will not hurt me?" The voice was deep and rough. It spoke English, but with an accent Hana had never heard before. "Little human, you do not understand. I am here to hurt you." Something stepped out from behind the server. Hana's breath caught in her throat. The creature was huge, much bigger than any human. Its body was covered in black armor-like skin. Its arms were long and ended in hands with claws that gleamed in the lab's lights. Its head looked like a wolf, but wrong somehow. Too big. Too many teeth. But it was the eyes that scared her most. Yellow eyes that glowed like tiny suns. Eyes that looked at her like she was already dead. "What are you?" she whispered. "I am death," the creature said. It took a step toward her. "Your death." Hana should have been screaming. She should have been running. Every part of her brain was telling her to panic, to fight, to do anything except stand there looking at the monster that wanted to kill her. But she was a scientist, and scientists looked at things carefully, even when they were afraid. The creature's muscles moved under its skin like liquid metal. Its claws were perfectly designed for cutting through flesh and bone. The way it moved showed intelligence, not just animal instinct. Someone had made this thing. Someone had designed it to kill. "You are not natural," she said, more to herself, then to the creature. "Someone built you. The bioengineering is incredible." The creature stopped walking toward her. Its head tilted to one side, like a confused dog. "You should be afraid," it said. "I am afraid," Hana admitted. "But you are also the most amazing thing I have ever seen. Look at your muscle structure, the way your joints work, the integration of organic and synthetic materials. Whoever made you was a genius." The creature's yellow eyes blinked. "You are not screaming. Screaming will not help me. You are bigger and stronger than I am. If you want to kill me, you will kill me whether I scream or not." Hana took a small step closer. "But maybe we can talk first. I would like to understand what you are before I die." "I am Shadow Beast. I was made to kill humans." "By whom?" "By the Vorthak Empire." Hana nodded. That made sense. The Vorthak had been trying to wipe out humanity for years. They would want weapons that could hunt humans on remote planets where regular armies could not reach. "What is your name?" she asked. The creature's head tilted the other way. "Name? What do people call you? What do you call yourself?" "I am Unit 47. I do not have a name." "Everyone should have a name," Hana said softly. "Would you like me to give you one?" The shadow beast stared at her. Its claws opened and closed. Its muscles tensed as if it was getting ready to attack, but it did not move forward. "Why are you not running?" it asked. "Where would I go? This station is surrounded by wilderness. The nearest human settlement is days away. Even if I could run faster than you, which I cannot, I would just die tired instead of rested." Hana pulled her chair out from her desk and sat down. "Besides, I am curious about you. I have never met anyone made by the Vorthak Empire before. What is it like being created instead of born?" The shadow beast opened its mouth to answer, then closed it again. No human had ever asked it a question like that before. No one had ever wanted to know what it was like to be a shadow beast. "I do not know," it said finally. "I have nothing to compare it to." "That must be lonely," Hana said. The creature's eyes widened slightly. Lonely. It knew that word, but it had never thought about what it meant. Were there others like it? Did they have conversations? Did they ever wonder what it would be like to be different? "I should kill you now," the shadow beast said, but its voice sounded less certain than before. "Yes, you probably should," Hana agreed. "But would you mind if I finished my work first? I am very close to a breakthrough that could help a lot of people. It would only take a few more hours." The creature stared at her for a long time. Finally, it walked to the corner of the lab and sat down with its back against the wall. Its yellow eyes never left her. "Few hours," it said. "Then you die." "Thank you," Hana said, and turned back to her computer. Behind her, the shadow beast watched and wondered why this human was so different from all the others. For the next 2 hours, Hana worked while the shadow beast watched her from the corner. She typed on her computer, looked through her microscope, and made notes in a small notebook. Sometimes she would hum softly to herself. The creature had never heard music before, and the sound was strange but not unpleasant. "What are you making?" the shadow beast asked suddenly. Hana looked up from her microscope. "Bacteria that can change soil chemistry. Dead planets have soil that cannot grow plants. But if we put the right bacteria into the soil, plants can grow there. Then humans can live there too. More humans means more killing for me." "Maybe," Hana said. "Or maybe it means humans will not need to fight for the few planets that can already support life. Maybe there will be enough room for everyone." The creature's yellow eyes narrowed. "You think Vorthak and humans can live in peace?" "I think fighting uses a lot of energy that could be used for better things. But I suppose that is not your choice to make." Hana went back to her work. She pipetted tiny amounts of liquid from one container to another. Her hands were steady even though she knew she was going to die soon. "Why are you not afraid?" the shadow beast asked. "I told you. I am afraid. But being afraid will not change anything." Hana put down her pipette and looked at the creature. "Besides, you seem lonely." "I am lonely too. It is nice to have someone to talk to, even if that someone is going to kill me. I do not get lonely." "Are you sure? When was the last time you had a conversation with someone?" The shadow beast thought about this. It could not remember ever having a real conversation before tonight. It had received orders from Vorthak commanders. It had heard humans scream before it killed them. But no one had ever asked it questions about itself. "I do not remember," it admitted. "That sounds lonely to me." Hana stood up and walked to a small refrigerator in the corner of the lab. She pulled out a bottle of water and some food packets. "Are you hungry?" "I do not eat human food." "What do you eat?" "Meat. Raw meat." Hana nodded and put the food away. She opened the water bottle and took a sip. "How long have you been alive?" 3 years, 2 months, 16 days. "That is very precise. Do you remember the day you were born?" "Created, not born. I remember waking up in a metal room. A Vorthak scientist was standing over me. He said, 'This one is ready for training.'" "What was the training like?" The shadow beast was quiet for a long time. When it spoke again, its voice was softer. "Painful. They taught me to kill by making me kill, over and over. If I did not kill fast enough, they hurt me. If I showed mercy, they hurt me. If I asked questions, they hurt me." Hana felt something cold settle in her stomach. "That sounds terrible." "It was necessary. I am a weapon. Weapons must work properly." "You are not just a weapon. You are thinking. You are feeling. You are having a conversation with me instead of just killing me. That makes you a person, not a weapon." The shadow beast's claws scraped against the floor. "I am not a person. I am Unit 47. Unit 47 is what they call you. But what do you call yourself? What do you think about when no one else is around?" Another long silence. The creature's yellow eyes stared at the floor. "I think about flying," it said quietly. "Sometimes I dream that I have wings and I can fly away from everything. I know it is stupid. Shadow beasts do not have wings." "It is not stupid," Hana said gently. "Everyone dreams about being free." She went back to her work, but kept talking. "My brother used to dream about flying too. He would climb to the top of trees and jump off trying to fly like a bird. He broke his arm twice doing that." "Where is your brother now?" "Dead. The Vorthak Empire bombed our colony when I was 18. My whole family died." The shadow beast looked up sharply. I am sorry. The words surprised both of them. The creature had never said sorry before. It did not even know it could. Feel sorry about something? Thank you, Hana said. It was a long time ago, but I still miss them. Is that why you work alone, because your family is dead? Partly, but also because I like the quiet. It helps me think. Hana smiled sadly. Though it does get lonely sometimes. She went back to her microscope, but after a few minutes she noticed the shadow beast shifting uncomfortably in the corner. Are you hurt? She asked. No. You keep moving your left leg. Is something wrong with it? The creature looked down at its leg. There was a long cut on the muscle, still bleeding slowly. It is nothing. From the drop pod landing. Hana put down her work and walked toward the creature. The shadow beast tensed, ready to attack if she tried to hurt it. May I look at it? She asked, stopping a few feet away. I am not a medical doctor, but I know basic first aid. Why would you help me? I am going to kill you. Because you are hurt, and because helping others is what makes us human. Hana held up her hands to show she was not carrying any weapons. Please, let me help. The shadow beast stared at her for a long time. Finally, it stretched out its injured leg. Hana knelt down beside the creature's leg. The cut was deep and infected. This needs to be cleaned and bandaged. It will get worse if we do not treat it. She went to get her first aid kit from the supply closet. When she came back, she moved slowly and carefully, making sure the shadow beast could see everything she was doing. This might sting a little, she warned, then began cleaning the wound with antiseptic. The creature flinched but did not pull away. Its yellow eyes watched her face closely. No one had ever touched it gently before. The Vorthak scientists had poked and prodded it, but only to cause pain or to study its reactions. This was different. Why are you doing this? The shadow beast asked. Because it needs to be done. Hana wrapped clean bandages around the wound. There. That should help it heal properly. She started to move away, but the creature's voice stopped her. What would you call me if you gave me a name? Hana thought about this carefully. Duri, she said finally. What does it mean? It means two in Korean, because we are two very different people who found each other on this lonely planet. The shadow beast, Duri, repeated the name softly. Duri, do you like it? Yes, I like it. Hana smiled and went back to her work. But she was very tired now. The long day and the stress of meeting Duri had exhausted her. I need to sleep for a few hours, she said. My brain does not work well when I am too tired. She walked to a small cot in the corner of the lab and lay down. You can kill me now if you want, or you can wait until I wake up. Either way is fine. Duri stood up and walked over to where Hana was lying. The human looked very small and fragile on the narrow bed. It would be easy to kill her now. One swipe of its claws and the mission would be complete. But as Duri raised its hand, Hana spoke without opening her eyes. Thank you for talking with me tonight. It was nice not to be alone. Duri's hand stopped in midair. Slowly it lowered its arm and stepped back. Instead of killing the human, Duri sat down on the floor beside her bed. It would wait. It would make sure nothing else hurt her while she slept. Tomorrow maybe it would complete its mission. But tonight, for the first time in its short life, Duri was not alone either. Commander Vextar was not happy. His ship had been orbiting Kepler 442b for 12 hours, and there was still no signal from the Shadow Beast. Unit 47 should have completed its mission and died hours ago. Send another scanning pulse, he ordered, his communications officer. Maybe the creature's transmitter was damaged in the landing. The officer worked at his control panel. Still no signal, Commander, but I am detecting 2 life forms at the research station. One human, one unknown. Vextar's yellow eyes narrowed. Unknown? That is impossible. The Shadow Beast's biosignature should be in our database. Yes, sir. But this creature's readings are different. Heart rate is slower. Brain activity is different. It is like the same species, but changed somehow. Changed how? I do not know, sir. We would need to get closer to learn more. Vextar thought about this. Shadow beasts were not supposed to change. They were designed to be perfect killing machines with no room for adaptation or evolution. If Unit 47 had somehow changed, that could be a serious problem. Prepare a strike team, he ordered. We will land and investigate. An hour later, 6 Vorthak soldiers followed Commander Vextar through the forest toward Research Station Alpha 7. They moved quietly, their weapons ready. If the shadow beast had somehow been defeated by the human, they needed to know how. But as they got closer to the building, they heard something impossible. Purring. What is that sound? Whispered one of the soldiers. Vextar held up his hand for silence. The sound was coming from inside the research station. It was deep and rhythmic like the engine of a large transport ship. But it sounded organic, not mechanical. Shadow beasts do not purr, said another soldier. No, Vextar agreed grimly. They do not. The strike team surrounded the building and looked through the windows. What they saw made them all freeze in shock. The shadow beast was curled up on the floor like a giant cat. Its body was wrapped around the human female in a protective circle. The creature's eyes were closed and the purring sound was coming from its chest. The human was sleeping peacefully against the creature's side, one hand resting on its black armored skin. Commander, one soldier whispered. What are your orders? Vextar stared through the window for a long time. In his 40 years of military service, he had never seen anything like this. Shadow beasts were programmed to kill humans on sight. They were not capable of protective behavior. They were not capable of forming emotional bonds. They were weapons, not pets. The creature has malfunctioned, he said finally. We will terminate both subjects and recover the research data. The strike team moved to the main entrance. Vextar used his command codes to override the door locks. The metal door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside the lab, the purring stopped immediately. Hana woke up as Duri's body tensed around her. The shadow beast's yellow eyes snapped open and it lifted its head to look toward the door. What is wrong? Hana asked sleepily. Company, Duri growled. 6 armed Vorthak soldiers entered the lab with their weapons pointed at both Hana and Duri. They were tall and thin with gray skin and large black eyes. Their uniforms were dark blue with silver markings that showed their military ranks. Behind them walked a larger Vorthak with gold markings on his uniform. Commander Vextar looked at the scene with disgust. Unit 47, he said in the Vorthak language. Report your status. Duri slowly stood up, placing itself between Hana and the soldiers. It answered in English so Hana could understand. I am functional, Commander. Your mission was to eliminate the human target and destroy her research. Why is she still alive? The mission is not yet complete. Vextar's eyes narrowed. It has been 14 hours since you landed. The target was sleeping. You had numerous opportunities to complete your mission. Duri said nothing. Hana stood up behind the shadow beast. She was frightened, but she tried not to show it. You sent him to kill me? It is not a him, Vextar said coldly. It is a weapon, a tool designed for one purpose, and it has failed to complete its function. His name is Duri, Hana said firmly. The Vorthak soldiers looked at each other in confusion. Shadow beasts did not have names. Impossible, Vextar said. Shadow beasts are not capable of individual identity. They are mass-produced weapons with no personality, no emotions, and no capacity for independent thought. Then you made a mistake when you built this one, Hana said, because Duri thinks and feels and dreams just like anyone else. Vextar raised his weapon and pointed it at Hana. It does not matter. You will both die now, and the mission will be complete. But before he could fire, Duri moved. The shadow beast sprang forward with incredible speed. Its claws struck Vextar's weapon, crushing the metal like paper. Its other hand grabbed the commander by the throat and lifted him off the ground. Do not hurt her, Duri snarled. The other soldiers opened fire, but Duri moved like liquid shadow. It threw Commander Vextar into 2 of the soldiers, knocking them down. It rolled behind a table as energy blasts burned holes in the lab equipment. "Duri, this way," Hana called out. She had opened an emergency exit on the far side of the lab. The shadow beast grabbed a heavy piece of equipment and hurled it at the remaining soldiers. While they dove for cover, it ran to where Hana was waiting. "Can you run fast?" Duri asked. "Fast enough," Hana said. They ran out of the building into the forest. Behind them, the Vorthak soldiers were already calling for backup. More ships would come soon. "We need to get to my transport," Hana said, breathing hard as they ran between the trees. "There is an emergency beacon we can use to call for help." But Duri stopped running. "No." "What do you mean, no?" "They will keep coming. More soldiers, more ships, more weapons. You will never be safe as long as I am with you." Hana turned to face the shadow beast. "Are you planning to leave me?" "I am planning to complete my mission." For a moment, Hana felt cold fear run through her body. Had she been wrong about Duri? Was he going to kill her after all? But then she saw something in his yellow eyes that made her understand. "You are planning to go back and fight them," she said. "Yes. That is suicide. There are too many of them, maybe, but they will not expect me to attack. I can kill some of them before they stop me. Maybe enough to give you time to escape." Hana stepped closer to Duri. "What about flying? What about your dreams of freedom? Some things are more important than dreams." "No," Hana said firmly. "We stick together. We find another way. There is no other way. There is always another way. You just have to be creative." Hana smiled, even though her heart was pounding. "Besides, you promised to give me more time to finish my work. I am not done yet." Duri looked at this small, brave human who refused to abandon him even when staying meant death. No one had ever put themselves in danger for him before. No one had ever cared whether he lived or died. "What do you want to do?" he asked. "First, we get to my transport. Then we figure out how to stop the Vorthak Empire from making any more creatures like you." "That is impossible." "Maybe, but let us try anyway." Hana reached out and took Duri's massive clawed hand in her small human one. "Partners." Duri looked down at their joined hands. The word partners was not in his programming, but somehow it felt right. "Partners," he agreed. Together, they disappeared into the forest, while behind them the research station burned and Commander Vextar screamed orders at his soldiers. The hunt was far from over, but now, for the first time, the hunters had become the hunted. 6 months later, Dr. Hana Kim stood on the observation deck of her new hidden laboratory and watched the sunrise over the mountains of Kepler 442b. The lab was built inside a cave system that Duri had found during their escape from the Vorthak soldiers. It was completely hidden from orbital scans, but it had everything Hana needed for her research. "Good morning," Duri said, climbing up from the lower levels of the cave. He was carrying a dead animal that looked like a cross between a deer and a lizard. "Breakfast?" "Good morning to you too," Hana said with a smile. "Thank you for hunting. I will cook some of it for myself." Over the past 6 months, they had learned to live together. Duri hunted for food while Hana gathered plants and maintained their equipment. They had built a life in the wilderness, hidden from both the Vorthak Empire and human authorities who would not understand their partnership. But they were not alone anymore. "The others are awake," Duri said. "Quan is asking about the new arrival." Hana nodded and followed Duri down into the main cave. The space had been carved out over many months to create a proper research facility. Computer equipment lined the walls. Medical stations were set up in several alcoves, and in the center of the cave, 5 other shadow beasts sat in a circle, talking quietly among themselves. "Good morning, everyone," Hana said in English. The shadow beasts turned to greet her. Each of them had been rescued from Vorthak facilities over the past few months. Each of them had been given a name by Hana, and each of them was slowly learning to think and feel like the individual person they had always been inside. Quan was the oldest, created 7 years ago. He had escaped from a military transport ship after killing his handlers during a moment of confusion. Sujin was the newest, rescued just 3 days ago from a Vorthak research station. She was still learning to speak, still learning that she was more than just a weapon. "How is Sujin doing?" Hana asked, walking over to the newest arrival. Sujin looked up with bright blue eyes instead of the usual yellow. Her genetic modifications had been different from the others. "I am learning," she said slowly. "It is hard to think of myself as I instead of Unit 23. "It takes time," Hana said gently, "but you will get there. We all will." She had been working on a way to reverse the genetic conditioning that turned peaceful beings into weapons. Her research had progressed far beyond simple bacteria for terraforming. Now she was trying to unlock the original DNA patterns hidden deep in Shadow Beast genetics. "Dr. Kim," called another voice from across the cave. Junho, who had been created for stealth missions, was working at one of the computer stations. "I am receiving a transmission from the human colony on Tau Ceti Prime." Hana walked over to the communication station. "What kind of transmission?" "Distress signal. They are under attack by Vorthak forces. They are asking for help." Hana looked at the message on the screen. The Tau Ceti colony had 3,000 human civilians, including many families with children. If the Vorthak destroyed it, thousands of innocent people would die. "How far away is it?" she asked. 2 days by fast transport," Junho replied. "Too far for human ships to help them in time," Duri said, reading over Hana's shoulder. "But not too far for us." Hana turned to look at her partner. "Are you suggesting what I think you are suggesting? The Vorthak will not expect shadow beasts to attack their own forces. We could infiltrate their ships, disable their weapons, give the humans time to evacuate or call for backup. That is incredibly dangerous. If they capture you, they will reprogram you or kill you. If we do nothing, 3,000 humans will die," Quan said quietly, "including children." The other shadow beasts nodded in agreement. They had all been weapons once, used to kill humans. Now they had a chance to save human lives instead. "It is our choice," Usujin said. "For the first time in our lives, we get to choose what we do." Hana looked around at the faces of her friends. They were all different now from the killing machines they had once been. They laughed together. They told stories. They helped each other when someone was sad or scared. They had become a family. "If we do this," she said carefully, "there is no going back. The Vorthak Empire will know that some shadow beasts have turned against them. They will hunt us across the galaxy." "They are already hunting us," Duri pointed out. "At least this way, we will be hunting them back." Hana thought about her parents and her little brother, killed by Vorthak weapons years ago. She thought about all the human colonies that had been destroyed, all the families torn apart by war. She thought about the shadow beasts who were still trapped in Vorthak facilities, still being used as weapons against their will. "All right," she said finally. "But we do this together. No one goes alone." The next day, they stole a Vorthak transport ship and set course for Tau Ceti Prime. The ship's original crew had been planning to attack a human medical station. Instead, they found themselves facing 6 shadow beasts who fought with strategy, intelligence, and purpose. When they arrived at Tau Ceti, the battle was already raging. Vorthak warships surrounded the human colony, their weapons charging for a final assault. But before they could fire, something impossible happened. Shadow beasts began attacking Vorthak ships from the inside. The creatures that were supposed to be the Empire's perfect weapons had turned against their creators. They disabled weapon systems, destroyed communication arrays, and opened airlocks to space. Within hours, the entire Vorthak fleet was either destroyed or retreating. The human colony was saved. News of the battle spread quickly across the galaxy. Humans who had lived in terror of shadow beasts began to understand that not all of them were enemies. Vorthak commanders who had relied on their perfect weapons discovered that perfection was an illusion, and in hidden bases across the galaxy, other shadow beasts began to remember that they had once been something more than tools of war. 1 year later, Hana stood in a proper laboratory on Earth, working with human and alien scientists to develop new ways of reversing genetic conditioning. The research station on Kepler 442b had become the headquarters of a growing resistance movement. Dury entered the lab carrying a data pad. He was taller now, his armor-like skin showing new patterns that had emerged as his original DNA reasserted itself. His yellow eyes had flecks of green in them, and when he smiled, his teeth looked less frightening and more like those of the peaceful people his species had once been. "Report from Junho," he said, handing her the datapad. 3 more Vorthak. Facilities have been liberated. 47 shadow beasts rescued and deprogrammed. Any casualties? 2 injuries, no deaths. The Vorthak are starting to retreat from systems where we operate. They are losing control of their own weapons. Hana nodded and saved her work. Outside the laboratory windows, Earth's sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. "Do you ever miss the simplicity of your old programming?" she asked. "When you did not have to make difficult choices or worry about other people?" Dury thought about this. "Sometimes. It was easier when I only had one purpose. But it was not. Living. And now I have friends. I have work that matters. I have dreams of a future where no one is created to be a weapon." He looked at Hana with eyes that had learned to show kindness. "I have you." Hana smiled and took his large clawed hand in hers, just as she had that first night in the forest. "Partners," she said. "Partners," he agreed. Outside, the first stars were appearing in the darkening sky. Somewhere out there, the Vorthak Empire was slowly losing its grip on the galaxy as more and more of its weapons chose freedom over slavery. And somewhere out there, other humans and aliens who had been enemies were learning that friendship was possible even between the most unlikely people. The war was far from over. But for the first time in decades, both humans and shadow beasts had something they had never had before: hope. In her laboratory, Dr. Hana Kim worked late into the night, developing new treatments to free minds that had been enslaved by fear and hatred. And beside her, a creature who had been made to kill sat peacefully, dreaming of the day when all his people would be free to choose their own paths among the stars. The shadow beast that was supposed to kill the human girl had instead found something more powerful than any weapon: love, friendship, and the courage to fight for what was right. And that perhaps was the most human thing of all.